What's up, y'all? It is Shay Cherie. The weather is getting warmer, and for me, that means it's time to bring out the crop tops and halter tops. I can sew a little bit, so I figured I'd start making my own. Today, I'm going to take you through drafting the pattern, cutting the fabric, and sewing it all together. Let's make it. For part one, we are going to draft the pattern for our halter top. And I will say that I got this pattern from another YouTuber, Style by Remy. I will link her video in the description below. So we are going to, I have some craft paper here. We're going to start by making a straight line to represent the shoulder line. And from the shoulder line, we're going to take our shoulder to chest measurement and draw another line. So mine was 11 inches. From there, you want to measure 2 inches up from that line. So the bottom line was our shoulder to bust, and then we moved 2 inches up for our chest line. Now we're going to mark a line for how long we want our top to be. I would like mine to be 16 inches. Next, we have to mark our neck hole. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to measure 3 inches in and 3 inches down. And from there, I will switch to a curved ruler so we can make the curve of the neck. Coming down to the bust line, we're going to take our full bust measurement and divide that by 4. Mine is 34, so that gives me 8.5. Make a mark there. And then we'll connect that line, that dot, to the neckline. Also on this bust line, we're going to take our nipple to nipple measurement and divide that by 2. So mine was 7 inches, so we'll mark 3.5 here. And this is going to be the measurement for our dart. So we're going to start the dart 1 inch down from the bust line. I'm also going to copy that measurement, the 3.5 down to the bottom waistline, 3.5. And we'll put a line connecting those two. And again, we're going to start 1 inch down for our dart. So from this line on the bottom line, you want to mark 1/2 inch on either side of the line. And then from the inch mark down to each dot will be our dart measurements. Staying on this waistline, we are going to take our waist measurement and divide that by 4. Mine is 7, but to account for the dart, we're going to add another inch on. So that'll take me to 8. And then I will connect this dot up to the bust line. I want my top to extend to the back a little bit, so I'm going to add 2.5 inches to the bust line and 2.5 inches to the bottom waistline. And connect those dots, those points. We're also going to do a side dart at the top. So from the chest line, you're going to measure up 3.5 inches. And we're going to make sure we line this up with the previous dart line that was on the bust. And we're going to connect it only up to the chest line. Again, from here, we'll measure 1/2 inch on either side. and connect those to the starting point. Now we have our halter top pattern. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Here's our pattern piece. Next, we're going to do our strap measurement. So I'm going to use this same piece of paper. And I'm going to start with a piece that's 6 by 24 inches. And then I'm going to mark at every 6 inches on both sides. Okay, so we have our rectangle for the strap. It's going to attach to this side of the pattern right here. I originally did it with 5 inches because this measures 5 inches, but when I put this piece down on the fabric, we're going to leave a little bit of room for sewing allowance, so I'm going to leave this piece at 6 inches. So I made the 6-inch marks to help me do the slant of the strap because I wanted to start off wide where it's going to connect to the halter top, and I want it to be narrow at the end. So my middle section, which is the middle 12 inches, I want that to be 3 inches. And then down towards the end, I want it to get down to 1 inch. So actually, I'm going to mark the middle and draw my lines for the 6 inches. Okay, and since I want the middle of my strap to be 3 inches, I'm just going to mark 1.5 inch from either side of this center line to get to my 3 inches. I'm going to do a diagonal line connecting the 3 up to the 6 inches. And then here, I'm going to measure, actually, we're going to make this 2 inches instead of 1 inch. So I'm going to measure 1 inch from each side of this line. Okay, so I'm going to connect the 3 to the 6 and then the 3 down to 2 inches to make it gradually more narrow. So our strap piece is mapped out, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece. Got our strap piece and our halter piece. I've got my main fabric of choice. I have it turned inside out, and we're going to be operating on the fold of the fabric. And then I also have what I'm going to use for lining. And I'm going to match up the folds so that we can cut the piece, the halter top piece, out at the same time. Line up your halter pattern on the fold of your fabric pieces. And what we're going to do is extend about 1/2 inch from each side, except for the neck piece. But everything else is going to be 1/2 inch added to accommodate for seam allowance. And go ahead and cut out both pieces of fabric. I'm going to take away the lining piece of fabric and use the main fabric to cut the straps. back on the main pieces, I forgot to mark the darts, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Actually, I'm going to cut small notches in it so I can see where the darts are on the other side of the fabric. So I've got my 3 notches there. So I've got my notches cut on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and pin the darts together so I can sew them. Decide what side of the fabric is going to be your right side or your wrong side. Since this already has the crease in it, I'm going to let this be my wrong side. So for the darts, you just gather it in the middle and match up the outer 2 notches. So we'll repeat that for our main fabric, and then you'll go to the machine and sew from notch to the point here for all of your darts. I've got the darts sewn into both pieces. So now we're going to attach the straps. I will start with the lining piece. Now flip your fabric facing the right side. Grab your straps. We're going to match right sides together. So we're going to put one end here, clip that in place, and take your second strap, clip that in place, and we're going to be sewing a straight line down, and I'll repeat the same thing with our main piece of fabric. Our straps are now attached to both pieces. So what we're going to do is match right sides together of our main piece and our lining piece. And we're going to pin all around. Make sure as you go along, you match up your darts and match up your seams. But pin all the way around. Everything is pinned now, so what we're going to do is sew around all the edges and stop when you get to the neckline. We're going to leave the neckline open so that we can turn our halter top right side out. Our stitching all around is complete. Now that we've left the neck open, we can use that to turn the piece right side out. And if you need to, use something long to help you get down into the straps. Okay, we're turned right side out. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and iron everything down, and then I'm going to top stitch all around the edges, again, leaving the neck piece alone. Our piece is fully top stitched. So now the finishing touch is going to be to finish off the neckline. So what I'm going to do is use the scrap fabric from us cutting out our halter top earlier, and I'm going to make some bias tape. So for that, I'm going to cut 2.5-inch strips and join them together. So ideally, we want the bias tape to be long enough to finish off the neckline and serve as a strap to be a necktie. All right, so to join these together, I'm going to place one piece perpendicular to the other, clip that in place, and I'm going to sew or mark a 45-degree line that I'm going to sew along. And when you do that, make sure that they're right sides together. And again, on this side, to do right sides together, perpendicular. Don't worry about stuff like that. We're going to cut that off after we sew. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and sew along the blue chalk line. So our pieces are sewn together so that when you flip them back, everything will be in line. So we can just go ahead and cut off the excess fabric here. Okay, so from here we can make our bias tape. So what you're going to do is fold this strip in half, and you can take it to the iron and crease that down. And then once you have your crease in the middle, you'll go open it up and then fold each side back into the middle. Do that all the way around, and then we'll fold those pieces together and iron that down as well. I've got my piece of bias tape prepped. So what I'm going to do is fold it in half and mark the middle. And actually, I'll see how long it is while I'm at it. Mm, 32.5, so that's like 65 inches total. So fold it in half, mark your halfway point with some chalk. I'm going to mark it on both sides just in case. Grab your halter top, and from the fold in the fabric, my middle is already marked. So we can match those middle pieces up. What I like to do when attaching it, probably a little extra, but it works for me. So I put the bias tape on the way I want it to look in the end, and then pin that in place. We'll clip it in place for a hot second. And then I reverse engineer to make sure that I'm sewing it on the right way. So this is how my bias tape would sit. And I want to attach it from the back first. So if I open the bias tape in half, I can attach the lining to the edge here. And I'll clip that back in place. Okay, so now when I unfold it, I know I can sew along the edge. So I'm also going to take my scissors. Since it's a curve, I'm going to cut little notches in the fabric to make it lay a little easier when I'm curving it around the neckline. I'm going to go ahead and pin this in place at both sides of the neckline. Take this to the sewing machine and sew only along the neckline for now. So I've got the bias sewn on to the neckline. So what we're going to do now is fold it back in place so we can cover the fronts. So it might help to fold it from the sides first. And I'll clip that in place. Make sure you're matching back up to your creases on both sides. And clip in or pin in place as you go. All right, before we sew down, I'm going to match up the ends of my bias tape again. Fold your piece in half. So we want to make sure we cut them even. And if you want to, you can cut them at an angle. I'm going to cut them straight. And so that you have nice, neat ends, you'll open up the end and tuck in the edge, and then we'll fold it back. And clip that in place. And we'll do the same on the other side. So we're going to take this to the sewing machine. We're going to start at one of the ends and sew the edge closed, and then come down through your neckline, sew that closed, and through the other side of the bias tape. Our bias tape is now all sewn together, as well as our neckline. And now it's time for the best part, which is trying it on. All right, y'all, here is the finished product. Isn't she super cute? Here it is from the back. The side. I need to iron it a little bit, but it's still super cute. So you'll see me rocking this out somewhere. I'll find a way. Thank you so much for watching the tutorial. Please give the video a like, comment below if you have one, share the video, and of course, subscribe for more creative content. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.